Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking ahead to 2025 to explore what's on the horizon for science.
Sounds exciting.
It is. We've got some fascinating sources to guide us. Excerpts from Nature Outlook 2025
Okay.
and an article about some big changes happening in the U.S. government.
I've heard about those. Big changes indeed.
Think of this deep dive as your a sneak peek into the future of science. We'll cover the breakthroughs, the challenges, and maybe even some controversies along the way.
Looking forward to it.
All right, let's jump right in. I want to start with a topic that's been making a lot of headlines, weight loss. You know, those miracle weight loss drugs.
Yeah.
Get ready for a whole new wave of medications hitting the market in 2025.
Oh, wow. So what's coming out?
Well, Eli Lilly has one called orforglipron.
Or Fortalplip?
Yeah, it's a pill designed to be cheaper and easier to produce, so potentially more accessible for people.
Interesting.
And their phase 3 trials wrap up in 2025, so we should have more data soon.
That's good. It's always important to have that data.
Definitely. And then there's another one from Eli Lilly, retatrutide.
Okay. And what's special about this one?
This one's a triple action drug. In phase 2 trials, it yielded a 24.2% weight loss. That's huge E compared to current medications.
Wow, 24.2%. That is significant.
It is. And then we have Amgen's contender Maritide. It's a once-a-month injection targeting both blood sugar A and D metabolism pathways.
That's pretty impressive. So it's not just tackling weight, but potentially other metabolic issues as well.
Exactly. It seems like researchers are pulling out all the stops to address this issue, but it makes me wonder what happens when effective weight loss becomes, readily available. Like imagine a world where obesity is easily treated.
Right.
How would that change our lifestyle choices or the pressure on healthcare systems?
Interesting question.
Even our perceptions of beauty and health. It's a lot to consider.
It is. It's definitely a complex issue with a lot of potential societal impacts. And, the applications of these drugs might go beyond just weight loss.
Oh, how sad.
There are studies exploring their use in treating Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and even addiction. Pretty amazing, right?
Wow, that is fascinating. But as with any major scientific advancement, we need to consider the ripple effects
Yeah,
across society.
for sure.
Okay, let's shift gears now to something that could drastically impact the scientific landscape in the US. Donald Trump is back in the White House.
Ah, yes. A lot of people are talking about that.
His return brings a wave of uncertainty, about science policy and funding. There could be impacts on everything from climate change to public health.
Absolutely. There are a lot of concerns in the scientific community about what his policies might mean for research.
Well, one big concern is climate policy. There's talk of Trump potentially withdrawing from the Paris Agreement again.
Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising given his previous stance on climate change.
It would signal a shift away from global climate action, which is a big deal.
It is. And there's also his appointment of Robert Kennedy Jr. as health secretary. He's known for his controversial stance on vaccines. That's definitely raised concerns. It could undermine public trust in vaccination programs.
Definitely a lot to unpack there. And adding another layer to this complex situation, we have Elon Musk.
Oh yes, Elon Musk, always in the news.
Right, he's now a key player in the government, co-chairing the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, with Vivek Ramaswamy.
DOGE. That's an interesting name.
Her goal is to streamline the federal bureaucracy, cut regulations.
Right.
Regulations they believe hinder innovation.
Right, so less red tape.
Exactly.
But it does raise some questions about potential conflicts of interest.
How so?
Well, think about it. Musk's companies, like Tesla and SpaceX, they've benefited from government contracts. And they are subject to those very regulations.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It makes you wonder, can he be objective in this new role?
It's definitely something to watch closely, and Musk's influence extends beyond government, right? He uses X, formerly Twitter,
Ah, yes, his favorite platform.
to voice opinions on a wide range of scientific topics, from vaccine safety to climate change.
And his platform reaches millions, so his views, even when controversial, can really sway public opinion.
It's interesting how individuals, especially in tech, have so much power to shape public discourse around science.
It is. It's a new kind of influence that we're still figuring out how to navigate.
So, how do you think these political shifts will affect U.S. science on the global stage?
It's hard to say for sure. But it could definitely lead to some tension, especially in areas like climate change, where there's a big difference in approach between the U.S. and other countries.
What about international collaborations? Those are so crucial for tackling global challenges.
Right. It's possible that some of those collaborations could be strained or even disrupted if the U.S. changes its policies too drastically.
It's definitely a pivotal moment for science in America. So much uncertainty, so much at stake.
It's a time for scientists and policymakers to engage in open and honest dialogue about the best way forward.
I agree. Now, speaking of global challenges, let's talk about pandemics.
Oh, right.
March 2025 marks 5 years since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic.
5 years already.
It's crazy, right? Makes you wonder, have we learned our lessons?
It's the question everyone's asking. While there has been progress, the world is still grappling with how to effectively prevent and prepare for future pandemics.
So where are we falling short?
Well, the World Health Organization, the WHO, is facing some challenges in finalizing a global pandemic treaty.
A pandemic treaty?
Yeah, it's meant to be a legally binding agreement between countries
Okay.
to strengthen pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. But there are disagreements about sharing resources, like pathogen samples and genomic sequences.
So even with the urgency, there are still roadblocks.
There are. And to make matters more pressing, the WHO expanded its list of potential pandemic threats to over 30 microorganisms.
Wow, over 30.
The threat is real, and it's constantly evolving. Makes you wonder, are we truly ready for the next pandemic?
It's a question we can't afford to ignore. Okay, let's take a break from these heavier topics
Okay.
and venture into something a bit more, well, out of this world. 2025 is shaping up to be a landmark year for lunar missions.
Lunar missions. Tell me more.
Private companies are joining the race to the moon,
Wow, that's exciting.
and we're seeing a resurgence of interest in lunar exploration.
So who are the players in this lunar race?
Well, we have ispace, a Tokyo-based company. They're making another attempt to land a craft on the moon with their Venture Moon mission.
Venture Moon, I like that name.
They came so close in 2023.
Oh, right, I remember that. It was so close.
Right. It's going to be nail-biting to watch them try again.
Definitely.
And then there's Houston-based Intuitive Machines. They're sending a lander to the lunar South Pole.
Interesting. And what's the mission objective?
They're carrying a NASA ice drill and a mass spectrometer.
What? To search for water ice.
Exactly. Water ice beneath the lunar surface.
So it's not just about planting a flag on the moon anymore. It's about scouting for resources.
Right. Water ice is a potential game changer for future lunar missions.
It is. Imagine, someday we might be sipping lunar water in a lunar base.
That's amazing. What other lunar endeavors are in the works?
Well, NASA has their lunar trailblazer orbiting the moon. Its mission is to map the surface water.
Makes sense if we're thinking about building a long-term presence on the moon.
Right. Water is essential.
What about missions beyond the moon? Anything exciting happening in solar exploration?
Absolutely. 2 missions are launching to study solar winds.
Solar
You
wind.
could think of them as like constant streams of charged particles
Okay.
blasting from the sun,
Wow.
impacting everything in their path, including Earth.
That sounds intense.
It is. The SMILE satellite, a joint project between the European Space Agency and China, will study how solar wind interacts with Earth's magnetic field.
Okay.
And then there's NASA's PENSEASH mission. It will be capturing 3D images of the sun's outer atmosphere.
So trying to understand how energy flows into our solar system,
Exactly.
it's incredible how much we still don't know about our own star.
It is. And there's another mission, NASA's Phoenix Observatory. This one will be mapping the entire sky in 102 colors.
A full color map of the sky.
It's incredible. They'll be using near-infrared light to collect data on over 450 million galaxies and over 100 million stars in the Milky Way.
All to understand the origins of the universe.
Exactly.
Mind-blowing.
It really
It's
is.
amazing that we can study events that happened billions of years ago.
Space exploration is all about pushing those boundaries of knowledge.
But it's not just about venturing outward, right? We have urgent challenges here on Earth, like climate change.
That's right. And that's where events like COP30 become crucial. November 2025 marks the 30th anniversary of UN climate talks.
But 30 years of climate talks, that's a long time.
It is. It makes you reflect on how much progress we've made and how much further we still need to go.
So what's on the agenda for this anniversary summit?
They'll be tackling some of the unfinished business from COP29, like securing the $300 billion annually in climate finance pledged to support developing countries by 2035.
That's a significant amount of money.
It is. There are disagreements about where the money will come from and how much will be given as grants versus loans.
I see.
And alongside COP30, negotiations for a UN plastics treaty continue.
So Tackling the plastic pollution crisis on a global scale.
Exactly. It's a big undertaking.
And while these discussions are happening, we're also seeing advancements in how we monitor our planet from space.
That's right. Two new satellite missions launching in 2025 will provide critical data on forests and climate change.
You have to tell me about those.
One is the NASA ISARO Synthetic Aperture Radar mission, or NISAR,
Okay.
and the other is ESA's biomass mission.
So what will they be focusing on?
NISAR, a collaboration between NASA and the Indian Space Research Organization, will be mapping almost all of Earth's land and ice-covered surfaces twice every 12 days.
Wow, that's impressive coverage.
It's like having a high-resolution snapshot of our planet's changes.
And what about the biomass mission?
That one will use radar to measure forest biomass and study how forests contribute to the carbon cycle.
So understanding how forests help mitigate climate change.
Exactly.
It's a multi-pronged approach. International negotiations, technology to monitor our planet, and a deeper understanding of the complex systems at play.
It's a multifaceted challenge, that's for sure.
It requires global cooperation and innovative solutions.
Absolutely.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into the world of science in 2025. From potential breakthroughs in weight loss and space exploration to the complex interplay of science and politics, it's clear that we're on the cusp of a new era.
It's an exciting time to be following science.
It is, but we're not done yet.
Right.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve into even more fascinating developments, including the rise of brain-computer interfaces.
Brain-computer interfaces. Now that's something I'm really looking forward to.
It's going to be a wild ride.
I can't wait.
So buckle up and get ready to dive deeper into the future of science. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Before the break, we were talking about some pretty amazing advancements in space exploration and climate action. Now let's shift gears and talk about a field that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction.
Yeah.
Brain-computer interfaces.
Oh yeah, BCIs. They have so much potential, it's incredible.
Right. It's like revolutionizing how we interact with technology, even with our own bodies.
Definitely. And it's not just Silicon Valley making waves anymore.
Oh, really?
China is emerging as a major player in BCI technology. They have ambitions to rival companies like Elon Musk's Neuralink.
Wow. So China is really stepping onto the global stage in a big way.
Absolutely. They're developing devices for a whole range of applications, from medical rehabilitation to like virtual reality.
That's incredible. Do they have any like flagship projects we should know about?
They do. One is called NEO. It's a wireless and minimally invasive BCI.
NEO. Okay. How does it work?
It has 8 electrodes that are placed over the sensor motor cortex, which is the part of the brain that controls movement.
So what's the goal? What are they trying to achieve with NEO?
It's designed to help people with paralysis regain movement. They started clinical trials in 2023, and the early results are really promising.
That's amazing. What kind of progress have they seen in these trials?
One participant with a spinal cord injury was able to eat, drink, and even grasp objects after using NEO at home for 9 months.
Wow, 9 months. That's amazing. It must be life-changing for that person.
It is. It gives them back so much independence and improves their quality of life.
It's incredible to think what was once science fiction is becoming reality. Are there plans to, like, expand these trials?
Yeah, the research team is planning larger trials in 2025, and they're hoping to make NEO available to patients worldwide eventually.
That would be incredible. It's definitely a technology to watch closely. And speaking of pushing the boundaries of science, let's talk about particle physics. 2025 marks a big milestone in this field. The European Spallation Source in Lund, Sweden, becomes operational.
The ESS, yes.
Yeah.
A massive project. It's been under construction for over a decade.
I can imagine. What is it designed to do?
It generates these, incredibly powerful pulses of neutrons.
Okay.
By firing a beam of protons accelerated to almost the speed of light at a heavy metal target.
That sounds intense.
It is. But those neutrons are incredibly useful for studying materials at the atomic level.
Oh, so.
They can penetrate deep into materials without damaging them, allowing scientists to see how atoms are arranged and how they interact.
So, like having a super powerful atomic microscope.
Exactly. At ESS, scientists will be able to gain a much deeper understanding of materials, potentially unlocking new discoveries in fields like medicine, energy, and manufacturing.
So the applications are pretty broad. Are there any other big projects on the horizon in particle physics?
There is a feasibility study wrapping up in 2025 for a proposed super collider at CERN.
CERN, the European Particle Physics Laboratory.
That's right. This project is known as the Future Circular Collider, or FCC. It would be way bigger than the Large Hadron Collider, which is currently the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator.
Wow, how much bigger are we talking?
The FCC would have a circumference of 91 kilometers. That's over 3 times larger than the LHC. Imagine a tunnel that could circle a small city.
Okay, that's just massive. Why build something so enormous? What's the goal?
The FCC is all about pushing the boundaries of our knowledge about the universe, exploring new energy frontiers, potentially uncovering new particles and forces.
So we're talking about potentially rewriting the laws of physics as we know them.
It's ambitious, but that's what particle physics is all about.
So what happens after the feasibility study?
The findings will be used to inform the final decision on whether to build the FCC. That decision is expected in 2028.
And if they get the green light,
Construction could take another decade or more.
a potential game changer, but a long road ahead. Now, let's circle back to weight loss for a minute. Are there any other potential breakthroughs in the pipeline for 2025?
Aside from those new drugs, 2025 could also see a big development in pain management.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
U.S. regulators are expected to finish reviewing a new non-opioid painkiller called sutrigi.
Susitriti, okay. And who's developing this?
It's being developed by Vertex Pharmaceuticals. It could be a significant step forward in addressing the opioid crisis.
That would be huge. Why is this particular painkiller generating so much buzz?
If approved, suzotrigine will be the first new class of drug for acute pain in over 2 decades.
Wow, 2 decades. So why is that such a big deal?
It offers a potential alternative to opioid-based painkillers, which are highly addictive and have contributed to, that devastating epidemic of overdoses.
So suzetrigine could be a crucial tool in fighting the opioid crisis.
It has that potential. It could be a real game changer in pain management, providing doctors and patients with a safer option.
It's definitely something to watch closely. From breakthroughs in weight loss and pain management to groundbreaking discoveries in space exploration and particle physics, it seems like 2025 is going to be a pivotal year for science and technology. What are your overall thoughts?
It really is an exciting time to be following science. What's striking to me is the convergence of different scientific disciplines, the accelerating pace of innovation.
Right, like we were talking about earlier.
We're seeing breakthroughs in fields like biotechnology, space exploration, and artificial intelligence that are blurring the lines between science fiction and reality.
It's both inspiring and, a bit daunting.
It is. And with these advancements come some important ethical considerations.
Oh, absolutely.
We need to be mindful of how we develop and deploy these technologies, making sure they're used responsibly.
It's a reminder that science doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's part of our society, and we all have a role to play in shaping its future.
I agree. Public understanding of science is more important now than ever.
So looking ahead, what can we as individuals do to ensure that science continues to benefit humanity?
I think it starts with staying informed, staying engaged.
Okay.
That means reading about scientific advancements, questioning what we hear, and participating in those thoughtful discussions.
Right, like having these conversations.
Exactly. It also means supporting scientific institutions and advocating for policies that are based on evidence.
I agree. Well, we've covered a lot in the second part of our deep dive into 2025, but there's still more to explore.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll wrap up our exploration of the future of science. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've traveled from the moon to the microscopic world of atoms, from the political landscape to the potential of brain-computer interfaces.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey through the world of science in 2025.
It really makes you think about the power of science to shape our future, both here on Earth and beyond.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up our deep dive, what stands out to you as the most significant, trend or development we've discussed?
That's a tough one. There's been so much.
I know, right?
But I think for me, it's the accelerating pace of innovation and the blurring of lines between different scientific disciplines.
Like the convergence we were talking about.
Mhm.
Exactly. We're seeing these collaborations and cross-pollination of ideas like never before. For example, advancements in AI are driving progress in fields like drug discovery and materials science.
Right.
And the knowledge we're gaining from space exploration is informing our understanding of climate change here on Earth.
It seems like the old silos between scientific fields are breaking down.
They are.
And that's leading to some really exciting breakthroughs.
It is. But it's not all, sunshine and roses.
Right, of course.
We've also talked about some pretty big challenges facing science.
Like what?
Well, the politicization of science is a growing concern, right?
Yeah.
With potential impacts on funding, research priorities, and public trust in scientific institutions.
Definitely.
And as we develop these powerful new technologies like BCIs and AI, we need to think about the ethical implications, right? Make sure they're used responsibly.
That's a crucial point. It's a reminder that science isn't separate from society. It's part of our lives,
It is.
and we all have a role to play in shaping its direction. So, as we look ahead, what can we as individuals do to ensure that science continues to benefit humanity?
Well, I think it starts with staying informed and engaged.
Yeah.
Reading about scientific advancements, questioning what we hear,
Right.
participating in those thoughtful discussions.
Like we've been doing here today.
Exactly. It also means supporting those scientific institutions, advocating for policies that are based on evidence.
It's about being active participants, not just passive observers.
That's right.
We've only scratched the surface in this deep dive, but hopefully it's sparked some curiosity, given you some food for thought.
Definitely. There's so much more out there to explore.
And remember, the future of science isn't something that just happens to us.
Right.
It's something we actively shape,
Through our choices.
our actions, and our engagement.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of science in 2025.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring.